Here's to George, the curious little monkey. He's so full of curiosity. Here's to George, the curious little monkey. He's as curious can be.
Curious George drives a steam shovel.
I've got to go to Mr. Harris's office today, George, said the man with the yellow hat. We've got a lot of work to finish. Soon they arrived at the office. While we're busy, George, you find something to do, said the man. But remember, don't get into trouble. First, George looked out of the office window. He saw a little boy with a brown and white puppy looking out of his window. The boy waved to George, and George waved back. Then he heard a loud noise from the street. George ran down to see what was happening. What was making that noise? George was curious. He leaped up onto a high wooden wall. Behind it was a giant steam shovel. It scooped up dirt and then dropped it into a truck. Soon, the whistle blew. The workmen went away, and George climbed down for a closer look at the steam shovel. Inside the cab, he found a lot of levers and buttons. What were they for? George was curious. He pulled a lever. The scoop moved. It swung over the fence. What fun. George pulled another lever. This time, the scoop opened. Dirt poured out and fell on some people walking by. They weren't too happy about that. He pulled another lever. The steam shovel began to shake and rattle. Then it started to move right into the street. People jumped out of the way. The steam shovel kept moving across the street. The scoop knocked over a row of flower pots. Then it caught on someone's clothesline. Just then, the driver of the steam shovel ran over, followed by a policeman. The policeman blew his whistle. "Stop it," he cried. George had finally found the stop lever. The machine stopped. George jumped out of the cab, ran off, and hid behind a fence. No one could find him. He was scared. "Boy, when I catch him," said the policeman. Suddenly, someone shouted. It was the little boy that George had seen by the window. His puppy had strayed out on the ledge. George watched him from his hiding place. He saw that the puppy was in trouble. How good that George was a monkey. He jumped to the pole of the clothesline and swung down the line. Then he leaped to the ledge, picked up the puppy, and handed it back to the boy. The driver had seen what happened and turned the steam shovel around. When the scoop came near, George jumped in. Everyone cheered when George came down, even the driver of the steam shovel. "You shouldn't have started up the steam shovel, George," said the policeman. "That was bad." "But he rescued my puppy," shouted the little boy from his window. "And that was good." "Yes, it was," said the policeman. "I just wish, George, that you weren't quite so curious." But he smiled. And so did his new friends, the little boy and his puppy. The man with the yellow hat had finished his work, picked up George, and drove off in their little blue car.